1-0 in Western Athletic Conference play after beating Orestimba 55-19 last week. Talk a bit about the elation that the team showed after Friday's victory, and what you told the huddle in the postgame.
Well, I think when you start league play and you get that first win, that's kind of gets you rolling a little bit, and the kids were excited about that. We had focused all week on playing with more intensity, for a full game, full 4 quarters, and I think we did that. The score, they scored on us a little bit at the end, and that's not. To me, that's not a thing that we're going to go back and change completely a bunch of different stuff. I mean, it was guys getting playing time that maybe haven't seen the field in a while, and so be it. We're not here to keep our starters into the end of the game so we can worry about stats and scores and that type of thing. So I think we played pretty well in terms of the intensity for the full 4 quarters, and I told them that afterwards, and not to let up. The intensity for the week should peak and boil over on Friday, and so now we get to do it again starting on Monday. So that first league win is crucial for us because that's that new season that we're talking about. And so everybody 0-0, now we're 1-0. Half the league's down at the bottom and half the league's at the top, and we start filtering our way from there. So Gustine will be up next, and we'll just keep it going.
All right. You face Gustine, as you said, on the road this week. They're 1-5 to start the season. They're coming off a 44-0 loss to Central Catholic. How do you keep your team from overlooking an opponent like that?
Well, first off, when you look at them on film, Gustine is a very talented team. They're not deep at all, and that's the problem that they're running into. They are, watching them on film, they're great in the early part of the game. I mean, they do some things structurally wise that are right on, and they got some athletes in some spots that are helping them out. The problem is that they don't have enough guys, and by the time the game ends, those guys are wore out, and that's where you get into the situation where you start seeing them at a 1-5 record. It's not because they got bad kids. They're doing things right down there. The problem is they just don't have enough of them. It was 44-0 against Central, but 7-0 after the first, 24-0 after the first half. Respectful, in terms of that mismatch, but they just get wore out. They can't sub a whole lot of guys, so guys are having to take breaks, and by playing a different position, so they can get some breathing room. And the previous game they played Waterford, it was a very close game. They scored first, it was 7-0. They ended up losing 21-7, and mainly because they put the ball on the ground too many times. They're a very capable team, and they've got some things working for them right now that we can't look past. And last night we came in and we met as a staff and developed a game plan for Gustine. In no means did we, build a game plan to use this as a practice game. This is our game plan to play Gustine on Friday, and that's how we're going to attack it.
What are some of these things that you're working on in preparation for the Redskins this week here at practice?
Well, the biggest thing is we talked about last night was getting better at of what we do best. But getting better at it. We need to be extremely efficient in our core plays on offense and our core calls on defense. And some of that, 55-19 against Orestimba, it's hard to gauge and look at it as like we must have played really well. And in all actuality, we didn't play that great. And you go back on film, it took quite a while before we finally hit an offensive play where all offensive linemen did their job. We had probably 4 out of 5 doing their job on every play. But we still had one that wasn't, and that was limiting us. Even though maybe our talent was getting us, 10, 12 yards, our blocking was not the greatest at that time, was not perfected. So there's things we need to work on there on the offensive side, and just making our reads and being more efficient. Defensively, same thing. Linebackers still not taking the right shoulder on their gaps. Not tackling properly, not staying deep and knowing our coverage responsibilities, that type of thing. All those things played in, and we were not really that great on Friday. Understand on defense, we switched things up and went really fast during the week to revert back to the 4-3, but it still needs to get better. At this point in the season, we're going into week 7. Those things need to be tightened up, so we got to focus on getting better in those areas. There's no real new plays. We don't have any new plays that are coming in. Most of our stuff's already in, so it's just a matter of us getting better at what we do and being more efficient.
I noticed there's a couple new faces out there on Friday at the kicker position.
Yeah.
A couple boys came up from the boys soccer team and kind of gave it a shot. What were some of your observations on how they performed?
Well, that helped us out a lot. And we had them working with the next kicker of ours, Eric Mejia, and so he's been working with them and getting them ready to go. And finally, we were able to get them into a game, and that helped us a lot. I mean, it was added more consistency to it. It was, even though we were rotating kickers, there was never an instance of do we have to worry about going for two, if we're not going to make this, that type of thing. It was just a consistent, nice, easy kick, through the uprights, getting air underneath it, that type of thing. I mean, we did miss one, but it was understandable. It was 1 out of 8 is not bad. So it was that added another dimension for us in terms of not having to go for it so far out. If we get a 4th down territory in at the 20, we can actually worry about trying to kick field goals now. So that helped us a lot.
What are your thoughts as to how the schedule was laid out this season? You have the Orestimbas and the Gustines first, toughest parts of the schedule at the end. Do you like that?
It's good. It's good and it's bad. And the good part is, in a season that doesn't have any bye weeks, if you play like a game like we played like last night or on Friday against Orestimba, you get a chance to get a lot of those guys in that have been working their butts off in practice, maybe not seeing their playing time during the games. When you play some of these tougher teams, and it's good for them to get in. But at the same time, when everything's backloaded at the end, it butts right up to the playoffs. Now, if we weren't making playoffs, it'd be a different story. We'd have big games at the end and the season's be over. But when you put the big ones at the end and then you add that with the playoffs, which are even bigger because it's win or go home, your playoffs essentially start earlier. Our playoffs essentially would start, with Livingston Central and Hillmar. It just makes it hard to not overlook the people that you have. But at the same time, if your team is focused enough and your staff is focused enough, you can get the job done week to week and still be able to handle the down weeks and the up weeks. And I think we do a pretty good job of that.